So, everyone, we have another very special guest with us today as the 2023 World Championship is just around the corner. We have with us head coach Mark Wilson. Coach, how are you doing? How are things?
I'm well. I'm well. In the midst of my high school season coaching, I just finished coaching my daughter's eighth grade team. So she finished youth lacrosse this year, and also getting ready for the World Championships with Jamaica. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely an exciting summer on the horizon. For you, would you describe it, for you personally, would you say it's something that you're looking forward to? Excitement? Is it a few nerves, butterflies in your stomach? How do you look forward to the summer that lies ahead?
I'll have to say there's always a little nervousness to it, but now having had this opportunity a few times with the 2018 games, the qualifiers, and the U20 games, U21 games. I feel I'm more excited this time than nervous, although obviously the stakes are high and the competition is going to be incredible. We feel like we're going to have a competitive team and do some good things and see how far we can take it.
Yeah, as you know, we have a couple of players that were on the roster in Israel in 2018. How much value will they add to the team, bearing in mind they've already played in a world championship already?
Yeah, I think we bring a wealth of experience this time, and both because the guys have played in the World Games in 2018 and the younger version, the U20 games in Ireland. Combining that and the fact that this time around we're able to add some guys who are very experienced college players, current college players. I think that we have the strongest nucleus that we've had thus far. So we're really excited about it.
And I suppose what gives you could give you confidence as well is that you could say the nucleus of the squad were at the qualifiers in Colombia as well. So you could say synergy, chemistry, cohesion is within the roster already.
Yeah, there's a great number of guys that have played together at multiple events, either playing in 2018 and then playing at the qualifier, or playing at the qualifier and then playing in the U21. So that there's good cohesion with that, and we also had a couple of nice events up here in the States where we were able to get some of the guys together. We scrimmaged Hampton University. We had a little mini camp up in upstate New York. We had a bunch of guys together. So there's been a great opportunity to bring numbers of guys together to play. So, we even had a few guys at the training camp in December in Jamaica as well. So, there's a good amount of a lot more touch we've had with each other this time around than we've had in the past. So it's good.
Yeah, and you could say in many sense that prior to San Diego, the Heritage Cup will be like a mini dress rehearsal for the actual
Yep.
championship itself. How important would you say this is, especially for those on the island that don't know really a lot about the Heritage Cup and the history of it as well?
The Heritage Cup is a great event because it brings together a good number of the teams that are going to be out there. It also affords teams to incorporate some guys that maybe aren't quite on their national team but are in their developmental programs and get them together. And it's just a really strong event to provide like another opportunity for teams around the world to get to play against each other and measure their skills against each other, and also sharpen their skills getting ready to the very important world championship. So it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. There's as much competition as there is. There's a ton of camaraderie, especially now guys have been competing against each other over the years and starting to know each other well. So it's a great event where we also network and talk shop and get ready for each other's opponents.
Yeah, and coach, as somebody such as yourself that is based on the East Coast, you know what the Jamaican community is like, the Jamaican diaspora. We also have that privilege on the West Coast as well, where we also have
Yeah.
Jamaican community as well. So you could say we have our 12th man in a sense, you have
Oh,
the
for sure.
so that's going to be key in San Diego.
For sure. And the world is our 12th man. We are a beloved country at all of these events. I think, the bold colors in our uniforms and the way we represent on the field with, exciting fast-paced action. We tend to have people enjoying and curious about us and cheering for us and rooting for us as we play.
And when you had the privilege, coach, to be able to see the pool that we're going to be in for the World Championship, what was your initial reaction when you saw it and the teams that we're going to be up against in the group stages this summer?
It's interesting looking across the pools. I feel they really did a nice job of every pool has a variety of teams, and there's going to be good competition in each of the pools. And what was interesting to me is that you have somehow you have these little rivalries building up in the pools. We had a really good game with Germany in the U21 championships. In the first go round in 2018, we did a good game with the Swiss. So there's more familiarity than you would think, given how infrequent it is we all get together. So I think there's familiarity. I think there's a lot of competition. I think that regardless of what teams are ranked going into these things, everybody comes with their best guns for this event, for the World Championship event. So the teams, whatever the rankings are, it's much narrower, the level of disparity between the teams when they get there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. I hope that we perform well, but I'm excited about our ability to compete and win.
Yeah, coach, whenever you're the national team coach of any Jamaican team, whether it's soccer, track and field, cricket, there's always that high expectation amongst fans because as you know,
For
Jamaica
sure.
a proud sporting nation. So of
Yes.
course expectations will be higher. So, if you're looking at the tangibles, 13th in Israel, would you say bettering that would be a first objective, first plan going into San Diego?
For sure, given our ability to crack into the top 10 with our U20 team, certainly our expectation will be, we hope to do as well or better. And then, of course, the really big goal is to get into medal round competition, and obviously that's a heavy lift for every team involved in it. And no doubt, we are on the outside of that looking in until we get in there. But we certainly have assembled a group of guys that gives us an opportunity to do it. And we've got an organization behind us that's setting us up for success to try and get into that mix. So, I think we've got as good a chance as any, and we're going to do our darndest to get in there. I would love to be playing at the end of the tournament on that last day.
Yeah, and coach, whenever we think about, you being, remotely and you're observing on television, or in radio and in the newspapers, and you've seen lacrosse being mentioned on the island, how much pride does that give you when you've seen our national athletes, men and women, being the focus of the media, not only print, online, but also broadcast as well, TV and radio?
Oh, it's wonderful. I think that the fact that for like you said, Jamaica is such a proud sporting nation in general. But when you're a newer sport in any environment, you wonder how much people will take to it. But it seems like whenever people learn about it, they get very excited very quickly. Following the high school championships online, both on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that through some of your portals. It was amazing to see the atmosphere at those games, the energy on the sidelines, how many people were there cheering and rooting those teams on, and then the excitement of the athletes, and both excitement and dejection when they didn't get what they want in some of those games. I mean, it was really incredible. So, the passion around the sport is it's just wonderful how quickly it's growing and infecting people. It's an addictive sport as it is. Most of us who love it, we tried it out at some point when we were younger, and we got addicted to it, and we just there's a culture that surrounds the sport that's very special. And probably the coolest thing about seeing how it's growing on the island is you can tell that the community has that feel about it. Like you can tell it's a lacrosse community, and it's spreading its reach out into the lacrosse world, across the United States and Canada and stuff. So, I mean, with all the college players we have up here performing well, guys like Joel Subawan out at Westcliff getting named MVP or offensive MVP of his team. this year. That's pretty impressive. A guy like Sammy Henry contributing on a nationally ranked Division II team, and Weber, one of the top teams in the country in their division. That's a big factor. And those are guys that came straight through the program on the island, and that's the future of Jamaica lacrosse.
And coach, as you know, Jamaicans played an important role in, developing the United States and Canada. That's why you have persons such as yourself, first generation, in the States or Canada, born to Jamaican parents or grandparents.
Yep.
Are you open to the idea in the future, looking at tapping at the talent pool that we may have in the UK, in England, in terms of Jamaican heritage players long term?
Sure. I mean, my answer to that would be is that every country in the world goes wherever they have to go to get the best players that they can find. And if it just so happens that they're somewhere else in the diaspora, then, that we're going to definitely tap into those resources. And I think that the other thing is that only benefits Jamaica lacrosse as a whole, because as we make connections in different places where there's lacrosse opportunities, for the players that are coming up on the island, we can use that network to leverage, whether it be for college scholarships or what have you, opportunities to play for the kids that are coming off the island. So I think, it really behooves us to tap into that market, especially given that we're going to hopefully move into the box game, by the 2024 games. I think there's certainly opportunities in upstate New York and Canada for kids that are coming out of playing a style of lacrosse that is mostly short stick and very offensive and aggressive on the island. I feel like all they need are the opportunities to get into the mix of the box game, and they're going to adapt to that really well with the speed and flair that they play with in the high school leagues in Jamaica. So I think it's our responsibility to tap into those markets.
Yeah, well said, well said. And you spoke about you being on the island in December last year for the winter camp. For you, when you
Mm-hmm.
saw the domestic based players and the raw talent they have, the enthusiasm for the game, did it give you encouragement about the future, especially on the island?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's some athletes, and I think that there's not only some athletes, there's some really good coaches. I had a great meeting with the coaches while I was down there, and there's a much greater understanding of the game probably than people realize. I think that in itself is going to really foster more opportunity for players because they're being coached well, they're developing good skills, and they're going to have opportunities to take those other places. So I'm definitely really excited about where it could go because it seems like the only thing holding us back is securing more equipment and funding for those programs. And once we, I think, establish ourselves internationally and hopefully moving on forward and perform well in an Olympic setting, that's something that's going to really allow the game to blow up in Jamaica. We're going to have our sixes tournament in November on the island, which will be a great opportunity to showcase both what Jamaica lacrosse can do as a organization, but also, to show that our sport is a viable, tourist revenue producer for the island of Jamaica. You can have big lacrosse tournaments and people will be excited to come and spend time in Jamaica. Then I think that's positive, for everyone. So there's a lot of good things going on.
And when you're bearing in mind, the sixes format, for those that may not know, do you think that Jamaicans could be able to adjust to the game, bearing in mind less players on the field, you have to be a bit more technical, maybe quick? Do you think Jamaicans would do well at sixes?
No, I think that based on what I saw in December, I think the way the high school league is played, I think that those players will adapt to it very well, and I think they'll use the space of the field well. I think they'll run the field well. I think it does create opportunity. It's a different game, and kind of one of the cool things about lacrosse is you have different ways to play it in all reality. You have box lacrosse, you have field lacrosse, and now you have sixes. So, there's a style of play for probably every kind of player out there. It's one of those sports that that some players are 6'6" and over 200 pounds, and other players are 5'4", 145 pounds and lightning quick. So it's the kind of game where there's something for everyone if you develop the skill with the stick and figure out a way to maximize, what you've been gifted with.
Quite an interesting, story there, coach. And when you bearing in mind the sport was introduced in Jamaica 2014, we're 9 years
Mhm.
onwards. Of course, as individuals, as human beings, it's like we're trained, we place our happiness on success and like forget the journey that we've taken to get to this
Mhm.
point. But are you a person
Sure.
that like reflects on, look where we're coming from to where we are right now? Are you that sort of
Oh, for
individual?
sure. That's really the basis of my excitement. Like I said, just comparing our 2018 world team to this team, this is we were able to go and get exactly the players that we wanted, and we're able to spend a lot of time doing that and develop, a really cohesive unit. Whereas 2018, it was a little more difficult. We didn't have as deep of a player pool to pull from, and we kind of like just threw it together. And this is a completely different thing. And then when you talk about Jamaica lacrosse as a whole organizationally, if we can in 10 years have as many high schools as we have playing, have a men's team, a women's team, and U21 teams, men's and women, on the world stage being playing competitively, and then on top of that have over a dozen players that came all matriculated all the way through the island program and be playing in the United States at colleges, some of them as scholarship athletes. That's just in 10 years. So like, what's another 10 years going to look like? It's not going to expand at a slower rate. You know what I mean? It's gonna improve and expand at a faster rate. So I'm super excited about where it can go.
Yeah, and finally, coach, in terms of your kids as well, I'm sure they're learning and picking up a stick. Next thing we're gonna have a conversation about them getting a Jamaican passport and playing one day.
They're both dual citizens right now. My kids.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yep.
Coach, thank you very much for your time. Really, really appreciate
Yeah,
it, and let's stay in touch for sure.
will do. Thank you very much.